Oh no, you're recording. Ay,
Ay,
okay.
ay, ay.
You want me to literally start
Yes,
again?
yes,
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 please.
yes.
You guys already heard it, but okay.
We forgot.
Okay. Well, I was hoping to continue with Ben's topic from last week, about the Buddhist perspective that pain is inevitable and suffering is optional, and really how important Ho'onopono has been in my daily life with our meditation group. Um, and I'm learning that Buddhism at its core is an investigative journey rather than just a set of beliefs and rules to follow. It's a living wisdom that's called Dharma. And Randy had described the visible manifestation of the wabi sabi and the impermanence, as part of the beauty of life. And then John really talked about the family love and how that, is another visible manifestation of our journey. My awakening has been my awareness that I live in fear and unconscious ignorance most of the time. Um, my righteous indignation is my fear for the way life is showing up right now, and it's my avoidance of surrendering. In 1 second, I'm pulled from peace and spaciousness into a biting badger full of judgment and growling and wanting things to be my way. We like to think that awakening absolves us of the emotional creature stuff, but my humanness isn't an accident, and I'm not misbehaving. I'm learning to turn towards that fleshy creature part of myself and to show it mercy. I'm letting it growl, rage, and cry, and holding it tenderly and lovingly. My body is trusting me, and it's beginning to unwind a very old clench when I'm tender and kind to myself. The way is friendship making. The way to love is love. And that's kind of my investigative journey right now. Um, Ilana, do you want to talk a little bit about, you're so good at connecting, um,
Um,
all of our talks.
yes. So, to go deeper into your words, Sherry, um, there's a story about the Buddha, the two arrows story. It's a very simple one. There is the first arrow is pain. And, you know, as you say, pain is an inevitable part of life. And the second arrow is our suffering. And Stanford, who is an inmate who's given us a lot of wisdom, says, can you shoot an arrow and hurt yourself? Imagine shooting an arrow and hurting yourself. So the arrow of suffering he's talking about, what's really going on here? And he says, and anyway, who is holding the bow? Is the bow danger? He says, I don't know about this word, inevitable. What he says, what if pain is more like angels for growth? A great teacher of transcendence to be appreciated and respected, burning into our gene memory and makes new combos, a new pattern. He says, accepting pain is the best friend of the future. And so that leads us to a discussion about expectations, right? So what you talked about, I'm on my way, how did the driver cut me, the righteous indignation, I'm right, right? All of that he talks about. And just to kind of put more pressure on the diamond here, I want you to imagine that this guy has been incarcerated for decades in a cell, that he's actually truly a genius, and that, of course, the ordinary intelligence around him does not understand his genius. He created a whole new language of spirituality, this person. So to stay with the issue of the inevitability of pain and to stay with your Ho'oponopono, which means that time and time again we will suffer. And if we accept that suffering is what our mind does to us, then what incredible mercy, what incredible, profound love is to say, I'm sorry. Think about life without I'm sorry. I am sorry is awakening. I am sorry. Now here comes the huge one. If you think I'm sorry is big, if you go inquiry into please forgive me, that requires trust. I'm not going to ask you to forgive me if I don't trust that you would, right? So, wow, I am sorry. That means I can reflect upon myself and I can accept my imperfection. I can go past my ego or my fear. It's called an ego, but it's really fear. I can go past my fear and I can put myself in total vulnerability and I can say, please forgive me. Take a second after that. And then, not only that, but you forgive me. And to live with that every day that we say that. To know that I am forgiven for the pain I've caused. The thought that I've caused pain. That I caused pain to myself. So please forgive me. And then thank you. And then, right, like, I love you. And then, like, the incredible, it's not broken. It's not broken. I love you. And we say that to each other, I love you. And that's the goal. That's the, the kintsugi in the yes, in the wabi-sabi, thank you. The kintsugi, that's the gold. That is it. That's the gold that is awakening. The gold doesn't exist in the words, it exists in their breath. It's yes and under breath. And I love you. And you say that to me. There's no greater mercy than that, right? Because we know that we will do this again. We already know that. And yet it becomes bigger and softer and more gentle. I wanted to do a little experiment with everybody, so it would take about 3 minutes or so. Is that okay, Sherry?
Ooh.
So let's close our eyes and take a breath. It's kind of a Nick kind of a thing. Take a breath and really feel the breath come in and go out. Nothing too elaborate. And just notice that you're noticing the breath, that there is something that's paying attention and is noticing the breath. And it really is amazing that it knows exactly that the breath is coming in and when the breath is coming out. And it's incredible that it's noticing it. And not only is it noticing, but the detail. Just noticing the detail of everything. And then take a second and let yourself rest. And then you will notice that a thought arises. And again, the amazingness that you know exactly what the thought is. You're noticing the thought. And you're noticing clearly, you know exactly what the thought is. And here it goes away, the thought, and here comes another one, and notice that too. And notice how you notice it so clearly. And now with the next breath, relax into that and see that there is something like a light that is behind the noticing. That's something that's there that allows you to be aware, allows you to notice. And that this something, we'll call it awake. And that awake is there, and it's always there. As the thoughts go by, one after the other, awake is just there. And as you go deeper into awake, and maybe you recall an old memory of any sort, you will see that awake was there exactly as it is here. That awake was there exactly as it is here. And even though you were 3 years old, or 4 or 5 or 6 or 15, it wasn't any younger, and it's not any older. It wasn't any stronger or any weaker. And then you will notice that you have always been awake. It doesn't change at all whether you're noticing pain or elation. You're already awake. And the only thing that gets in the way is fear. Your heart is already wide open. With the next breath, come back into your body. Exhale. Coming back to you, Sherry.
That was really beautiful, Alana.
Thank you.
It's a paradox being human and shifting from one foot to the other. This sitting as presence and the sitting as human creature, sitting as presence and spaciousness, and sitting as human creature. Awakening is accepting my limitations, judgments, wanting to control, and my sense of a deeper connection when I'm present. My predicament humbles me at every turn. And repeating the Ho'oponopono reminds me of my paradox and that love still endures. And my biting badger is learning to curl up in my lap, in my own lap. Yesterday, Alana sent me a poem that Brandon wrote it made me feel so grateful for the Sangha and so seen and connected with someone I've never even met. But I want to read his poem. And fear is a caged animal whose door has just been opened, peering into the great unknown, timid, tail tucked between its legs, furtively casting its gaze this way and that. It takes that first uncertain step forward only to retreat back into the comfort of the prison it knows. Oh, how much greater the allure of a familiar hell than that of a heaven unknown. Don't speak to me of surrender. Do you not see my gilded cage? This glorious pile of shit I call a castle? Close the door and leave me to my rituals. When I lose the will to live, then I will let go. Then I will find my way to heaven. Yeah, that was the perfect. I didn't think anybody else was thinking about features the way it felt so wonderful to have that connection with him.
You know, it just occurred to me, Sherry, that the talk today was given by you, Brandon, in Stanford. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I bow to them. So.
Yes.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Ilana. There are about 24 or 25 of us here, and we want to hear from everyone. So if you could keep your comments to about 2 minutes, that would be helpful. And we do want to hear from everyone. So who would like to go first? Or second? Yes, R.
Let's really time.
Sound permitting. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I can stop being so pushy with the hand up. Here we are. Okay. It'll be quick. First, thank you so much for for Zendo, for the talk, Sherry and Ilana. The poem I'll request later and will reply with another poem with the same words. There's overlap. My father is a poet, amongst other things, and I came across some of his poetry while helping him move about exactly a year ago. And finding enlightenment in art has been a blessing. And lastly, a meme that a friend shared was, for artists, the opposite of depression is not joy, it is expression. So when you're feeling low, express, express, express. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Randy.
Randy?
Hi, everybody. Sherry, really beautiful. I love the being human is not a mistake, or I'm not even sure what words you use, but I guess that's what sits with me. And the biting badger, of course. So I appreciate the rawness and realness of it, and the beautiful shrine that you're ensconced in there, that you've created for yourself there. And Alana, I appreciating the meditation, and that's been in my mind, in my consciousness lately. Well, how I can be, we're all caught in the world, or caught in our thoughts, or caught wherever we are, and then all of a sudden something is always pulling us back to, like, the breath, or awareness of this or that, like just really tuning into that thing, that awareness, that piece of ourselves that always, it's like the magnet that, that always pulls us back, no matter how far we can go out for hours, maybe even days, but then there's always something that pulls us back to, like, ah. So
Keith, yay.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry, and company. I forget everybody else's, Randy, and um, I guess I'll just keep it short and talk about the Ho'oponopono, because it's really done a lot for me in the last. It's been over a year now. I've had Facebook pop up saying, "Hey, here's your memories from a year ago," and a year ago and longer, and it's me at Alana's house or at Doug's house, and so time flies. But I remember the first time I did the Ho'oponopono 7 or 8 or 9 years ago, and I thought, oh, this is stupid. Yeah, like, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It doesn't do anything for me. Um, and it was awkward. And then when I first connected with Deep Bow, you guys had just done a retreat on the Ho'oponopono, and then and we had added it to our daily meditation. And I really just set aside judgment that I had previously had with it. And I saw it originally as going out, to almost like a meta prayer, or a meta sutta, where I'm forgiving people and accepting forgiveness from people and all that. And I just turned it 100% internally to me, and and it's been extremely powerful ever since. I've never stopped doing it, and I have a lot of negative self-talk my whole life, and a lot of blaming myself, and a lot of them not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not successful enough, blah blah blah. And I reinforce these thoughts in my head all the time. So for me to stop, even just for that little bit at the end of Zazen, when I'm open and clear and settled, to then, tell myself that I love myself, and to thank myself, has been extremely powerful for me over the last year. And to think I thought it was stupid and didn't like it the first time, and now I'm just really adopted it, and have got immense gratification from doing it. So thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Yes. Joachim.
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 Joachim. Joachim.
Just call me John if you want to.
John.
That's too easy, John.
Okay. Just a few words. Last week we had this funeral, and a lot of talking and hugging and tears because of the death of, and talking and thinking about transformation. And it was very, well, it's like that's the way it goes. Yeah, you have to cope with it, and when you're strong enough, you can keep other block of ice in your arms, and they melt. And I was posting on Instagram a poem. I want to read it, if you might listen to it. How did the rose ever open its heart and give this world all of its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. This is a poem from Hafiz. And the second thought, just when we meditated this moment, we closed our eyes, I had this bowl. I could not listen to you, Ilana. Sorry about that. I saw this bowl, a blue bowl with this blue-green flame on it flickering. It was not hot. It was like talking without words. And it was so beautiful. I thought, I had one thought, it was Tara and not Tara, it was love, it was blue and green. And this was so beautiful. And I guess I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Angel?
Angel.
Thank you, yeah, and thank you for a lovely talk and lovely meditation walkthrough, which I think was great. In answer to the question about firing the arrow, I remember a story, Doug might know it better, that Coben was on the beach at near Tassajara, so
Or Esalen.
yeah, and he pulled. He was a master at Kyodo, the way of the archery, and another guy let the arrow go, and he hit the bullseye. And Coben, or it may have been Coben's teacher, pulled back, then turned 90 degrees and let the arrow go out to the ocean. And he said, "Another bullseye." So.
Oh, give me shivers.
Yes, Brian.
I'm grateful to be present for this delicious conversation. And Sherry, I very much like the image of a badger in your lap. We each need our own badgers at various times in our lives, but sometimes it needs to be on your lap where you can scritch its tummy and tickle it between its ears. And then Ilana, as you were talking about forgiveness, something occurred to me for the first time. There are two parts to forgiveness, and one is, well, and I think the word forgiveness it's a insufficiently precise word, because first part is making the decision yourself that some trauma or resentment won't continue to etch your soul like acid.
So right.
And the other part, when somebody is asking you to forgive them, that's not the first kind of forgiveness. They're asking permission to continue in relationship with you. And so when somebody says, "Will you forgive me?" It's actually irritating, because it's so imprecise, and that person still has to take consequences for their acts, and that's outside of, I can continue to be in relationship with you, but, well, let's reverse it.
Yeah.
I've committed a trespass against you. I'm asking you for permission to continue in relationship with me, and your agreement to do that is different than realizing that I need to fix myself, and I need to let go of it so that this thing doesn't become a festering cyst.
Thanks.
I'll go next. Rachel. So thank you, Brian. I literally just wrote that. So what I wrote, so first of all, thank you, Sherry and Ilana, for bringing up this, I can't even say the word, because like Keith, I have had this very thin relationship with this prayer. Ho'oponopono, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even want to learn how to say it correctly because I have this, like Keith, I have this sort of unsteady, unsure. And to me, I was just reflecting on it because when Ilana was saying the power of it is to first to recognize that I have actually made a trespass, that my humanness got in my way, and I made an error. I hurt somebody, and so the awakening of I'm sorry is like a ego dissolution, and then please forgive me is the trust that you said. I have to trust that their love is still available. But there's a line missing. It goes straight from, please forgive me, thank you. And that's always been like, wait, there's something missing in there. And that's what you're talking about, what resonated for me.
It's true.
Because please forgive me has you can be yes or no. And in the face of no, then what? Like the apology is not a one-way thing. It has to be recognized and accepted by the person who has been trespassed. And that is not a reflection on either me or them. It is its own thing, and it's its own process. And if it is a no, then that's also an opportunity for being awake and growing, and not shutting myself down or shutting them down because they are not ready to forgive. And even then, when the answer is yes, then what does that mean? There's the relationship still to go. So thank you for enlightening that. It's food for thought. Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
Mark.
So, and I think it's Brian. I wanted to follow up on your comment on the badger. And Sherry, thank you. It was a really fun talk, and Ilana was really good. And I'm enjoying this discussion. But the badger I related to was that angry badger, that badger has fear and anger and is tearing everything up. And I love the analogy of the finding peace to let that badger sit quietly and participate in the world and put aside that fear and that anger and that defensiveness. So thank you.
I want to speak to the badger for a minute because that is a meme or an emoji or something for me. The fierceness of my anger has, no one here has ever seen it, but maybe someone has. But the ferocity of anger can be so huge we can have. But one of the things badgers do better than just about any other animal is dig. And if you there's a park up in the foothills above Mount Hamilton where the badgers are digging in an old Indian village site, and they can move a wheelbarrow load of dirt in no time. And when they dig in this ground that's been turned over many times, they actually uncover remnants of human habitation from hundreds of years ago in there. But badgers, that ferocity is useful. And so how to not just scratch it between the ears, but also like activate it so that it does the real work that it does. Maybe that's helpful.
Are you a badger, Doug?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you my experience with my biting badger. It wasn't just a digging badger. It's got good capacity for, was when I really met my rage and my grief, and I basically asked the badger to tell me what was the message. I sat with it. I didn't try to outrun it like I've done for decades of my life, but I actually went to the darkest dark place that this badger was guiding me, and there was a really wise message there, and it was filled with light. And I can say I have a fierce strength now because I'm honoring that message that was in that rage. And it was requesting such tenderness and kindness. I just had always been too afraid of what I was going to find there. And I thought it would be the unending dark hole, but it wasn't. When I actually sat with that badger's, and it wasn't just anger, it was rage. I was so upset, and I was so shocked at what was there and the kindness and the message that was really beneath the fluff of anger. So there's something to be found by meeting that badger. And then as it felt heard and seen and appreciated for the message is when it kind of, like, thinking in exhaustion, it felt like it just sat in my lap. So,
Could feel its whiskers.
I want to tell a story I just heard by a man who suffered from a great deal of rage inside of him. And you would never know this meeting him. Very, very large man. He's been working for a long, long time to try and resolve this rage because it would come at very inopportune moments. He's a doctor, so sometimes it really got in the way. And he tried all kinds of things to dig into where is this. And last year he did, he tried everything. And he did an ayahuasca journey. And in the journey, he was led 400 years ago to a slave ship where he is sitting at the bottom of the ship. He's completely naked. His arms are tied behind his back and his legs are in shackles. And he feels this himself was filling with rage. And at the same moment, pride rose in him, that he knew he was fierce enough to withstand whatever comes. And he, my friend, saw how the pride and the rage wound around each other like a DNA and entered every cell of their being. And here he is fourth generation. And he's being shown that the thing that he was fighting against was a gift from an ancestor. And he said that he felt all of it drain right out of his left foot. And it's been now close to a year and it's not come back. And I feel, as I'm saying to you, as I felt when the story was given to me, that it was actually a sacred story. And I'm telling you this story with reverence. Because I know when he told me that story, I could feel that rage and pride wound in myself as a woman.
Benny?
So I would like to express my gratitude, Sherry. That was amazing, and of course Ilana and John for offering us tea today to all the Sangha. That was heroic. Thank you. And as we sit, and hereby I'm grateful for the Buddha. As we sit, we can relax because we can be certain that pain will come. Will come. Some stage, if we sit long enough, pain will come. And that's what life is. And then it will go away, because that's what life is. It's a flux of changes. And that's where equanimity comes. And after that, it's just loving kindness.
No pain.
Thank you.
Frank?
One of the things that attracted me to Buddhism immediately was when I read the Buddha said that he taught only one thing. So I thought this was going to be pretty easy then, because by that time I'd learned a lot of stuff. And he said what he taught was the end of suffering. And that's in one of the little books. The end of mental suffering. It said the pain of sickness, old age, and death you all will have with you. I'm not talking about that at all. Take medicine, do meditation, dance. I'm only talking about the end of unnecessary suffering, which is up here. And here are the techniques of how to do that. That's all I teach. I don't teach about the Creator, I don't teach about the universe, the end of anything, just that. In the beginning of meditation, I was taught to also focus on the space between the out-breath and in-breath. There's a little space. Then when you advance, you can try to see the tinier space between the in-breath and the out-breath. Unless you hold your breath, it's a much shorter time. But you can become present to that short of a moment. Even faster is the fall that Sherry outlined from being in a state of happiness and delight and whatnot, and in a moment to be in righteous indignation. And if one can be present enough to start to see that tiny space between, there's the possibility to end suffering. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Ilana. Thank you, Sangha. Thank you, Sangha. Thank all of these loved ones being here, including myself. Mercy upon thee also.
Yes, Maya.
So I want to just say a little bit of a It's echoing a little bit the story of the rage and the pride. Like that was so real and right. And these things are labeled as bad and wrong. And so, in a way, the pain is real, suffering is optional, falls into the same category for me. Like, how many people on this planet have a legitimate, absolute correctness to feel suffering? The people that to this day are slaves and that we benefit from. We benefit from slavery. And to in any way discount suffering as optional, to me has to be in a context. For us, maybe it's optional, but for a hell of a lot of people, it's completely sane. Maybe it's possible for them to attain enlightenment in their suffering hell. And maybe that's a gift. But I am not going to sit here and say, yay for not suffering. To in any way discount, like a society where powerful people can use that teaching to justify a class of people that are the untouchables and say, hey, you untouchable people, it's okay because you're going to have more lives and become enlightened. That's not okay with me. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
I would just, if I may, Maya, just add the word being with or instead of people. Beings.
Can you say that again, please?
I wanted to suggest to use the word beings instead of the word people.
Beings.
In Maya's very enlightening words.
Ben.
Now I'm trying to fully absorb what Maya said too, because I think that's very important. I want to respond to Frank briefly when he was talking about the short moments. I had just researched that and found that it's called the kasana. It's basically the opposite of a long eternity. Like we live a long eternity, but each moment there are countless kasanas in that long eternity, and I consider them short eternities. But yeah, I think just as we value the idea of life without suffering, life without pain, we need to accept, as Maya was just saying, that there are lots of people that do have lots of suffering and pain, and we should acknowledge that.
May I say one more thing? Doug?
Yes.
I want to try to be clear because the words of the Buddha are so important. Suffering is, in many books, discussed as a mistranslation of dukkha. A better translation is unsatisfactoriness. So the suffering of the enslaved and the suffering of what human beings do to each other, that's in the first category that the Buddha says, I'm not talking about sickness, old age, embezzlement, and enslavement. As Jesus said, the poor you will always have with you. He said that's all a category of how unenlightened beings are with each other. That he was only teaching about the mental processes inside that one uses to justify doing such behaviors or to be angry at somebody else because they're not comporting themselves in a way that you would like. He's talking only about mental unsatisfactoriness because of the level that we are at this development. And he said there's a possible evolution to a higher state, a more comprehensive state of awareness. That's the suffering of the world is not going to go away. You can be involved in trying to help. You can do practices of giving meditation prayers for them. But that is in the pain category. So he's talking about the unsatisfactoriness of the ordinary way of mind.
Sherry?
I just wanted to add there real quick, the journey that I'm learning that Buddhism is, and my direct life experience was in not avoiding the suffering and meeting those and not disassociating from it. I've spent decades running from it, but it was actually stopping and facing it. And so whether that's the surrender, but it was not trying to outrun that rage or frustration, and finding that in those the darkest dark of the injustices that I perpetrate on myself and I perpetrate on everybody I come in contact with unconsciously. That's my ignorant unconsciousness. That it's to stop running from that and actually surrender to what is present right now. And half the time it's that sensation inside of me that I really want to avoid or run from or blame on somebody else, or that's where my judgment comes from. But it's actually meeting that rage, that pride that Alana was talking about, just meeting that. And in that darkest dark, that horrible, horrible injustice is the gift that you never expect. There's going to be this most beautiful light in this horribly dark place. And so it's about not, it's like even the pain is directing you to the love that is enduring throughout all of the injustices that we perpetrate on ourselves and others. There is still the love endures.
Yeah. And I'll just add a couple little things to remind ourselves that you were talking about slavery. You know, the people whose poems we read make 20 cents an hour. There are slave camps right outside our doors.
Chris.
Morning. Thanks, Sherry. Your comments reminded me of phrase, beings are numberless, I vow to save them from me. So, So we can go down the suffering thing or the forgiveness thing. I'll tell you that in prison, the end of suffering can be a hard sell. So, not that they'll give it a shot, but okay, last week at California Medical Facility in Vacaville, I've only met with this group for a few times, and there's actually another Buddhist group that comes in there, and they're do the more standard Buddhist thing, and so we've just started there, and so they had a question about the Ho'oponopono. They said, "Well, that's not Buddhist," you know. So I encouraged them to just try it, and I tried to explain to them that our group, doesn't really adhere just only to Buddhism, that we borrow from other traditions for various reasons and incorporate that into our practice. And actually, so nobody had done that before except for Stanford, who Lana mentioned earlier and read some of his stuff. And of course, he knew about it, but I was trying to explain it to others. And what it came up for me was that when we are truly find the humility to just ask for forgiveness, to admit that we screwed up and ask for that forgiveness, one of the things that happens is that it kind of shrinks the ego, at least a little bit. That's solid fixed idea of who and what we think we are kind of gets diminished, at least for a moment. And there's a couple of things you can do with that. Sometimes it just reasserts itself with, self-righteousness or rationalization or whatever. But it's also an opportunity, when it's been diminished, to step through and go deeper into, the real truth of ourselves. So I don't know if they got much of that, but they were willing to give it a try after that, and hopefully it's working its magic. Thank you.
Yes, Bill.
Yes, I'm hoping everyone will share. Thanks, folks.
Yes, Bill.
This is my first week with this Sangha. I'm very grateful. I thought I was only getting in for the meditation, but I can see that there's wisdom here that goes beyond just the peace that meditation can provide. And I find this just opening my mind. I'm afraid that in some ways I'm stuck back at the "I'm sorry," not "please forgive me," but I now see how powerful the "please forgive me" is. Thank you.
Yes, Charles.
Well, my thoughts are not going to accrue any brownie points with some of you out there, but and I just have to be honest, if that's okay.
We'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. This concept of "I'm sorry, please forgive me" does not in any way, shape, or form resonate with me. It's almost as though it's just verbiage that is diffuse and does not mean anything. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't important to other people, and I'm quite elated that people can get something from this. But for me, the concept of "I'm sorry" and please forgive me makes absolutely no sense. That's number one that you won't probably identify with. The other one was, and this is related, my brain just shorted out there. Maya's about the concept of people being taken advantage of in slavery. And Maya is such a dear person, and I hope you don't take this personally. But the other day, I was at Pete's, and I got a cup of coffee, and the woman who was serving me was very nice, and she goes, "And you know that that's fair trade coffee."
Yeah.
And my thought was, and I said to her, they should feel lucky that they just have jobs. And again, that's not going to gain any brownie points, but it's coming. I think life's condition is such as that there will always be an owner's mentality and a worker's mentality. And this is just a fact of life. And as far back as you can go in history, you will see this, but this is just an aspect of, as a species, who we are. A couple of other quick thoughts. I know I'm supposed to be going quickly. Frank said something, and he was talking about the space between breaths, and different teachers have introduced me to that concept, that idea. And I just had some comments on that because I've studied it a little bit. Tiny spaces between our moving from one flavor of sleep and another. And perhaps these momentary transition zones are just another category of sleep and mechanicality. Possibly what we consider as awake is but another mechanical configuration of mind. And thank you very much, and please don't be too upset with me.
Please forgive me.
Brady is gone.
No, it's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for all your shares. Yeah, this is what was I gonna say? I feel like I'm very like I have kind of internal anger that comes up that's pretty like can get really intense, and it's like last night I had a situation that made me very angry, and I just had to be very kind of tender to myself and just saying like, hey, it's okay, like this is fine, it's okay. Like it's like there's some sort of switch in my brain that got kicked in, and I had to just stay with that emotional upwelling of all these kinds of reactions or fears of like I'm going to be hurt, or I'm going to feel pain, or this isn't right, or this isn't the way it should be. And then just feeling kind of a sense of self-acceptance that had to come in, and just be a self-love that kind of helped me to kind of not cling to the situation so strongly and feel so kind of powerless. So I just, the sense of, yeah, not making myself bad or wrong for being angry, but just recognizing that it's just it's totally like this sense of like it's totally fine, it's totally justified. Yeah, I could see how you'd be angry at this, and at the same time, is it helping me? Is it really what you want? Like, you're having a lot of negative thoughts right now. Are those going in the direction you want? You're kind of creating this world right now that you don't want, right? Like, think it through. It's kind of the sense of just being really real with myself. It's like, if this is the situation and it's not the way I thought I wanted it to be, but it is this way, I have to kind of accept it as it is, because if it's not the way I thought it was, wouldn't it be great if, I mean, I just need to love it the way it is. So I think that's my thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brady. John, would you like to share?
Okay. Sherry, I so appreciate what you brought up about badgers and caged animals. And Maya, I appreciate what you said about slavery. And I think each of those is necessary for a transformation. And slavery often provides you a place to live and food, and you can start loving that, and you can start loving the badger and the caged animal and transform into love. And there you are.
Thank you. John? Casey?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm just struck by the profound nature of everybody here. I often reflect on that, and it seems statistically improbable that this many quality type people with such vast body of wisdom and lore in their individual units come together, and even more comes out of it. Like, I don't know why I'm consistently amazed every time. It's a pattern that holds true. Grace and gratitude is where I sit, you know, and I'm very lucky and thankful to each of you for sharing that wisdom with me. You were all spectacular, and I finally found good reflections.
Yasmin?
Hi. I'd like to talk about this badger from before and say I don't like to consider it as something that is outside of me. That's funny. I just thought about it. I was talking about it to my therapist in the past few weeks or months. It's something I'm thinking about. I'd like to object to the dehumanizing of this part of us. And I personally refer to this badger as my inner child, which I am trying to create contact with for the past few months. I don't remember anything about her except for like being resentful and full of tantrums, and she comes back now and then, every now and then, and I'm trying to accept that little girl and tell her that what she's feeling is okay. And I'm trying to communicate with her. I mean, sometimes when I feel resentful and angry, I take a moment to myself and I say, wait, that's the little girl talking. What is she trying to say? And this helps me reflect more specifically on what's bothering me. that's it. And thank you all for sharing.
Thanks. Reed?
I just wanted to name Charles that I appreciate you offering a contrary opinion to everyone. I know how hard that is, and even though I don't think I necessarily agree with the one you gave, I just wanted to name that I appreciate that you had the bravery to say that. Something that I've been struggling with anger, very much so in the past. Anger that it's immediately, bound with a sense of hopelessness and inability to move and ineffectiveness and all sorts of just fears about current events in the world. And what I've been, thinking about more recently is noticing that as the opportunity to, as you've all been talking about, to step into wakefulness, and that where we're at right now is the ripening of karmas that have been running through our societies for years and years and years and years, and we're just starting to see the kind of a manifestation point of that, and it's really scary to me, and I really don't want it to happen, and there's a part of me that just wants to resist the reality of where we are. And what I've been noticing more and more of is that finding a way to talk to this other karma that's been coming up in our society is so important, because how else are we going to work with it? And I don't know how to do that, but it's the only thing that I think we can do.
Connect.
Yeah. And so.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gregory.
Yeah. Hello. First of all, this is not very well articulated, so I'm just going to throw it out here. But first, I'd like to say thank you for everybody for all the different inputs, thoughts, ideas, sharing, agreeing or not agreeing. I think that's why we're here, and that's what we're all about, and that's what sharing is, and the ability to do that in a safe environment. So I'm grateful for that, and grateful for all the perspectives. And what I apologize about is I'm not going to talk about any of that. I wanted to just say that, and this is a very simple thing, but I think as I often admitted to, I've been meditating poorly for over 40, now almost 50 years, and I've continued to do such, and therefore what I'm about to say is a bit embarrassing. But today, when we were sitting and I was meditating, or trying to meditate, as usually is the case, then I was wondering, well, who the heck is that in my head saying I should be following my breath? I should be, concentrating on this. I should not be thinking that. So who the heck was that? And I don't have an answer for that. And maybe the group does. But I think that that's kind of at the root of all of our suffering, or all of our questions and everything we've been talking about over the last hour plus, is that, it's that chatter. It's that, it's I don't say self-created, but it's just us being us, looking at us and saying, aren't I a shiny object or not a shiny object? And so anyway, back to the original question, which was, who the heck was that? Or who is that right now that's blabbling on, And so anyway, that's maybe there's no answer really to that, but that was my meditation on my meditation today. So thank you all.
Thank you.
The answer is fear, Greg. Fear.
I want to add that this shirt is a Greg art piece, and he's going to Los Angeles to do art for the Olympics.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's where he's right now, right?
That's fabulous. Nick. Are you there? Nick.
Nick. He's in the Switzerland.
Chris.
I just have a quick one. I meant to mention this before. We were talking about pride earlier, and I think it's important to differentiate between different types of pride. And we kind of confuse the two. A lot of times we think it's like bragging or just having a bigger view of ourselves, like braggadocio or something. I think that's a different kind of thing. What Alana was talking to is this pride that you have having survived some sort of ordeal, like suffering from physical or psychological issues or social injustice of some kind or oppression, and having survived that and thrive despite that, I think is a different kind of thing that we should acknowledge the distinction.
Totally agree. Thank you.
Nick. Thank you, Chris. Nick?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Doug and Alana. Thank you, Sherry, for giving that excellent talk and for starting this wonderful discussion. And thank you for all the wonderful viewpoints. One thing, it just Greg was saying, like who is this thought? That actually sounds a lot like Ramana Maharshi, who, when he's describing, I guess it's Atma Vichara, self-inquiry, like the main practice that I guess Ramana would verbally communicate was to inquire into who do these thoughts appear, or to whom does this mind appear, or who wants to know, like is there a God or no God, like who wants to know? So that that's a very important practice for me, or it's one that I'm do a little bit. But yeah, Uchiyama Roshi has a lecture. I could put it on the WhatsApp group. It's about ultimate religion Zen versus ultimate achievement Zen, and he makes the distinction between sort of this basic view of Soto in Rinzai, where in Rinzai one can practice, achieve moksha, or I guess they call it kensho, and receive the verification of the enlightenment. So sort of like achieving the greatest achievement for oneself through Zen practice. And he contrasts that with Soto Zen, where there isn't this notion of achieving enlightenment or receiving Inka. In my understanding, I think I said this in one of the meetings past, is like in this book, Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrol Rinpoche, he cites another teacher, and a student comes to that teacher and says, I understand you practice letting others win and accepting defeat for yourself. Is this an important practice to you? And the teacher says, yes, this is my primary practice of letting others win and accepting defeat for myself. If you really believe that we're all one, in my understanding of the ultimate achievement that Ramana Maharshi is pointing out, is to understand that the self itself is the entirety of existence, including all of space and time, all universes, all creatures, all beings. That's what would be called the supreme self, which is what you already are. If you really believe that, like if you've achieved that realization, then my understanding is that you would be like bound permanently, like in compassion for all sentient beings, which are the self. So it's sort of like letting others win, like caring for the suffering others, like you are bound, like more than you can possibly conceive, to caring for all sentient beings, because all sentient beings are the self. So it's like for me, the view of oneness in the Bodhisattva vow, like supreme awakening, which is to awaken to oneness of man and God, that one's true identity is unborn. That oneness itself requires you to care about the suffering of all sentient beings forever, because that's what you are. And so I think these like views, I guess with regards to like Ho'oponopono and like saying I'm sorry. One, it also implies like fallibility, which in Sota Zen, my understanding is we will be fallible forever. So we have to bow, we have to practice, and we have to apologize forever. And also like how important like other people's experiences are. I think I've exhausted my 2 minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nick.
Beautiful way to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the underlying themes that I notice here is what Gregory brought up about who is this that's doing this, meditating and going through all this stuff, that there's no fixity of self, which indicates a fluidity of self. Another theme that comes through is the requirement of effort and strength and determination and curiosity and a morality and generosity and skillful means, knowledge. All of these things are wrapped into what we've been talking about, and those are the paramitas. Those are some of the core aspects of Buddhist practice that are talked about, but we haven't even identified them in this hour or hour and a half, yet they are all present. And I just want to give you this metaphor that these paramitas, and the precepts are things that we kind of lash together in our lives and make a raft that we ride on. And it's important to take care of them. So, and it all comes out of this giant river of love that is the boundlessness that keeps this fluidity that we all get a taste and enjoy together. So thank you all for today. And we'll close with, may our intentions penetrate every being and place with the true merit of the Buddha way. Beings are numberless, we vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, we vow to end them. The Dharma gates are boundless, we vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, we vow to be it. So thank you all. A good Sunday, Monday week to you all. All right.